All right, I'm gonna give my 2 cents on this Ebony Williams and the conversation that she had with Ayala. And um, I had sent the video clip to Captain Solo, and I already knew he was going to say when he saw it. His response was "fuck her," talking about Ayala, and I felt the same way because I'm like, here we go with the trying to convince a successful woman that she needs to date now. And Kevin Samuels used to do the same thing. And this is the whole problem with the grift. I just watched a clip of Mr. Let Go. And, it's like, this is why I hate the people in the business of inspiration because they want to give a solution. You don't have a solution. There is no solution for a woman like Ebony K. Williams, and her whole orientation is just wrong. I don't think I've seen. She is a shining example of a black woman with a god complex. There is no solution for her. She will die alone. I just watched a clip of her on The View, basically addressing Governor DeSantis because he made a statement about African American studies not being a real degree. Notice, yet again, we have all these women like for Harriet and, Ebony K. Williams and, even Aisha K. Faines, RIP, who they major in these what I would consider fluff degrees, not degrees that maintain the integrity of society, just pontification degrees. But whatever, not to shit on the degree. I'm just pointing out that there's a pattern here with all these, these black women that go into, the business of inspiration, the business of female empowerment, the business of being pontificators and talking heads, and then want to act like, because I got this African American studies degree, I'm solving the problems of the world and, engineering, a space warp drive for the black community. And I don't know how that gets on par with the type of stuff that the black community actually needs, which are, people in business that provide goods and services, engineers, architects, all these sorts of things that, if you're going to talk about building up a black community that you would actually need, like skilled tradesmen and all these sorts of people. Like, I just, it blows my mind and I know I already know the answer, because of social media and the internet. And once you become, a personality or a celebrity or a brand, you can bring money in, and then you go up and you're a talking head, and then, it just goes to these women's brains, and then they're all of a sudden, we're killing it, and I have a net worth of $3 million. I looked up the net worth of Ebony K. Williams. She has a net worth of $3 million. You know, and she's running around talking about she's going to have a child by herself because she couldn't find anybody. Good looking woman, attractive woman. And I'm like, and you couldn't find anybody? Yeah, I know she couldn't find anybody because of her god complex. Dudes are not going to touch her with a 10-foot pole. If a dude is making $10 million, why would you want to be with her? And this goes into the women, and they believe we're going to be a power couple and ooh and everything. Not while you're running around like Patrice O'Neal said, and you want the Jaws music. You want the dun 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 dun. That's my music. That's not your music. But see, a woman like Ebony K. Williams, so focused on her career and all this, I want to be in front of the TV screen and all this other crap. Like, she ain't never gonna stop. You know what I mean? Like the horror. I don't even know why she wants to have a child other than the validation of a woman in the biological clock, and so that she doesn't end up like Tracy Ellis Ross and whatnot. But I mean, just even the selfishness of I'm going to bring a child into the world, and the child doesn't have a father. Like, she didn't have a father, because even on The View, she's up there talking about she had to look and search for her father, didn't know who her father was, and all this. So she's all fucked up emotionally, psychologically, and everything else like that. And you get that from a lot of people, male and female, that grow up without their fathers, because they have like this chip on their shoulder, like their father wasn't there and it's like, why didn't you want me? And all this sort of sense of rejection. I'll prove that I'm somebody or I'm something. And so they overcompensate. And that's literally what I see when I observe her. But as it pertains to Ayala, this is why the boomer generation that goes up there and they're talking all their relationship talk like Ayala Van Zant. Ayala just needs to go sit down somewhere. Okay, the shit that she talks about relationships and everything else like that is completely outdated for what's going on in the gender space, the gender war, the gender dynamic. It's completely outdated. And I brought this up. I brought this up several times now that we don't live in the 1960s anymore, where women cannot generate the type of income that men bring to the table, which creates that whole biblical dynamic of the man head of household and the woman, she has to negotiate her survival, with a man. We don't live in that space anymore. Okay, even though women still it's like psychologically everybody still wants to be in that space to a degree, but at the same time they don't. And women are really the ones that are changing that dynamic. And men are like, we don't want to engage in that dynamic with women that have those type of resources or that type of power because we don't get anything out of it. All we get is a bag full of responsibility devoid of leadership. We don't want that. If we're gonna take on the burden of responsibility, we want the leadership, we want the recognition, we want all that. But when you have a woman that comes into the space and it's like, oh, I got my bag and I got this and I got that and I don't have to listen to you, all her resources are tools used against the decisions that you make that you would back financially. Okay, so you go and you want to move in one direction and you got the resources to move in one direction, and then she goes and counters your decision with her resources. The vast majority of men don't want to deal with that. They do not want to deal with that. They want to have, if not all of it, the disproportionate lion's share so that they have veto power. And that's why, these women that are in these sort of powerful positions, that's why they can't find men. Men again, just as I point out about women who avoid men because they want to call shots in the relationship, men do the same thing, and appropriately so, because otherwise we end up with situations of wrong orientation. Otherwise we end up with situations where you have this sort of role reversal, and then you get into the problems that later on will unfold when you have young boys that cannot look up to their fathers in positions of leadership and decision making. And then you have a boy who grows up seeing female leadership as opposed to male leadership. And meanwhile, all the other communities out here operate, largely on a patriarchal standpoint. And now you got a black boy that thinks mom runs shit and men just kind of exist in that space. And he's competing against all these other races of men that have patriarchal orientation. If that's what the majority of the black community is doing, you're going to lose as a people. You're going to lose because you don't have enough men that are go-getters, or the men that are go-getters, because there's no real infrastructure to support the go-getter black male. You just end up with a bunch of black males that engage in illegal activity, and then their go-getterness falls into illegal activity like selling drugs and narcotics and things like that. And then, you get into the women that are still attracted to, the alpha maleness and whatnot, that all that's in the streets. And so you get women that gravitate towards the men that demonstrate alpha behavior, but they're all in the streets. And so in the grand scheme of things, when you want to talk about the overarching community, you get nothing but brokenness. None of it fits in together. And that's what we have. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the Ayala, outdated information. No, it's just outdated. You know what I mean? Talking about dating bus driving. It ain't the 60s no more. We're not talking about niggas driving for Greyhound. And this is the other thing that irritates me, right? Even talking about, the men being in the proper position and all that, and Mr. Let Go and whoever else is up here like trying to slam Ebony K. Williams. I'm saying Ebony K. Williams has the wrong orientation. There is no solution for her. She will die alone. Okay, point blank, period. That's what's going to happen with her. There's no solution. Leave it at that. Okay, but y'all want to come in and act like, oh, see, this is what's wrong with black women is, and this is what's wrong, and they need to date average dudes and dudes. No, they don't. No, they don't. She has priced herself out of the dating pool. If we're going with the model of whether it's biblical or whether it's traditional or whether it's, having the right orientation, she has successfully priced herself out of the market. And this goes right into the whole arguments and conversations about hypergamy. Women constantly want to date up. A man that's making $1 million, he'll date everything from at his level all the way down, below, depending on the behavior of the woman. Right, because that's not this. I'm not going to sit here and say that you don't have people that are, making the same income, male and female, that don't link up and get together. That does go on, but men are definitely more open to dating down than women are, because of the dynamic, the role that he plays, the fact that she's looking up to him. Men like that, okay. But women, when they become more successful, they only want to date up. They only want to date at their level or above their level. This creates a very small pool for women to select from. And so when it comes to women like Aisha K, not Aisha K, well, I can say Aisha K fans, but when it comes to, women like Ebony K. Williams, when it comes to women like, who's another one, another woman that, Claudia Jordan. You know what I mean? Like, these women, they price themselves out of the market. I don't know what Claudia Jordan's net worth is, but let's just say it's right there with, Ebony K. Williams. Maybe it's more. Whatever. I'm saying they've priced themselves out of the market, and they speak on the issue like as though, and this is where the problem comes in, because we get into these delusions of black women doing better than black men, across the board. Because and so you get these talking heads that think that every black woman is like her and in the same financial position as her, and maybe she's got a couple girlfriends that are also successful like her, but that's not what the majority of the community is out here. And then even all the other women, all the other black women out here, they're not living like, these women, but yet they identify with these women. It's like that video that I remember when Karazin was talking about how beautiful her skin was. The woman that was crying about when the George Floyd riots, protests, whatever you want to call it, took place, and they tore up that supermarket in Chicago, and she was in her car talking about how the dude put a gun in her face. You know what I'm saying? That's a regular, everyday black woman. Okay, that's the woman that you should be talking about. What's wrong with the brother, working at Greyhound or whatever it is, because that's the level that she's at. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, these are regular people. But to sit there and bring, these regular people standards to quasi celebrities, I'm like, that's not going to work. The woman's net worth is $3 million. She shouldn't be dating a bus driver. Like she said, I could date somebody maybe if they own the company. She was trying to figure a way to validate the dude's position. But to date a regular, no, she can't date a regular dude. That's why she's been single up until this point. But again, it's not just her level of financial success. It's also the fact that her demeanor is just off, and she has wrong orientation, and she's got other issues. I was just watching who's the rich, what's his name? What's this guy's name? No, not Rich. Peter Santinello. So Peter Santinello did a video called Exploring Rich Atlanta. And there's a bunch of brothers. Dude had a mortgage company, had a real estate company, had a Ferrari. Like these are non-celebrities that you don't see slapped all over the TV and everything. But these were, highly successful black men in Atlanta. What's wrong with Ebony K. Williams dating those dudes? Why isn't she in the face of those dudes? You know what I'm saying? But instead, black women want to run around with this narrative like, oh, ain't nobody on my level and da 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 da, and they're not in the right spaces. This goes back to Kevin Samuels and his whole platform. That's why he had to specify and label it high value men, and this is what high value men wanted. And the black women were all fucked up because they all had no clue what even high value black men wanted. They had no clue what they wanted. Women were in there coming with weight, coming with somebody else's kids, divorced with 2-3 kids, and talking about my cookies is worth. Delusional bitches. And again, like this is why, people talking about, I'm this is why I so want to talk about other topics. I mean, between the women having black women having the wrong orientation, believing everything negative that they want to believe about black men, running around with all these sorts of myths, shit like black men being deadbeat dads, and you got more black single moms out here than you do black single fathers, because we got this whole 80-20 rule, or this 90-10 rule, where you got all these women that only want to sleep with the top 10% of dudes. You know what I mean? Or the dudes that they deem to be swagnificent or whatever, have the charisma, the riz, whatever it is. The vast majority of black women look at, a vast majority of black women look at, and they dismiss and they move on, and they don't think about it. And we got again, I was never on the win a race war tip. I was on the provide a lifestyle. And again, black women have proven themselves to be habitual goalpost movers. Just like that argument that I had with Lady Boulay. We want maids, and we want to live this white female lifestyle, and it's like y'all having to collectively position the entirety of the community as such. And so again, a dude will be successful, and the argument coming from a black woman will be, the community as a whole is fucked up. So regardless of whatever your position is, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to follow. I'm not going to cooperate. I'm not going to submit. I'm not going to acquiesce. I'm not going to, fuck all that. You know what I'm saying? Um, these women, they this is where I talk about, the self-hatred that black women not only have of themselves, but also have of black men. They have a deep-seated inferiority complex that comes from the system of white supremacy. And this is something that is just not examined when it comes to black women. Because black women, they their rhetoric and how they position themselves as always perpetual eternal victims to, whenever they don't get something, it's because of the evils of black men or something like that. And they got deep seated issues. This is why the culmination of the divestors, that's why all these other black women are trying to distance themselves from that, because that really is, where a lot of black women's state of mind is. Mileage may vary. When you distill down all of that self-hatred and inferiority complex all the way down, and you're just left with this concentrated, elixir, of a black female inferiority complex and self-hatred. That's what the divestors sound like, running around calling black men bullet bags and all this other stuff, and using racial slurs to refer to black men, right? And I'm saying that's the most extreme version. But you have women that go, all the way, through the ranks, and they have this sort of, I'm better than black men sort of mentality, and the only way I'm getting with a black man is, he's got to be blowing me substantially out the water because, I'm awesome and all this. And again, I'm not knocking it, but I question the origins of that shit. Is it coming from a healthy patriarchal place, or is it coming from a place of severe inferiority complex? And so you take Ebony K. Williams and you throw on the fact that she ain't know who her daddy was and all that other shit. And I went to Chapel Hill and I got an honorary PhD and I'm majored in African American studies and I went to law school and everything. And it was so funny, like even with the law school shit, I have had people point out to me that that's like the backdoor way of getting into law school. You major in the easy shit like African American studies, or you major in shit like communications or some of the criminal justice, and then that's how you get in on the back door. You don't take no crazy hard shit. But that's a whole nother conversation. Mm. But yeah, Ayala Van Zant and the the advice that she's given, it's not gonna work. Not when you have women that again, this idea of this idea, like, in other words, that advice only applies to women who are in that class, of dating a bus driver. Women who are above that, which, Ebony K feigns, you can't bring that model to them and talk about them dating down. Again, I'm not advocating for role reversal. All that does is lead to future problems. And we already have a problem, when it comes to black women in the way that they, believe, we've had this idea of this legacy of, the do nothing black man and the strong independent black woman holding it down, and multiple generations of matriarchal headed households, and to where these women just have the completely wrong orientation. Okay, whether we want to say that that's real or fake or an illusion or whatever, all I can say is that there's a lot of black women that have this belief system and have this mentality. And the only way that you're going to turn this shit around as black men is you recognize when a woman is out of your league and you keep it the fuck moving. Like Captain Solo used to say, captains recognize other captains. You salute when you see her and on her aircraft carrier on the high seas, and you keep chugging along. Plain and simple. You're not gonna run shit on a bitch's dime. I don't know why dudes even remotely think this. And then I gotta address all the guys that jump up and they want to throw in God and the Most High and Yahweh and Allah and all this other shit and try to use that. And I'm like, but you don't have the financial muscle. Like, you're not going to be able to run shit. You're not going to run shit on a bitch's dime. And it's problematic for black men to even think like that, because when you get into spaces of other races of men that control the economic landscape of their community, who are actually in the position and are the ones that are paying your black women, to basically be as sassy as they are, and you're coming in there with, I'm running shit on a bitch's dime, like, that's not going to work. They're actually in the position, and you're sitting there talking about running shit on a bitch's dime because you have a phallus. Like, no, get the fuck out of here. You're a joke in that space. And we really need to get black men out of this mentality thinking that it's okay to shame women into dating down. No, you keep it the fuck moving. She's above you. Keep it the fuck moving and shut the fuck up. Oh, she's crying about she wants a solution, and I'm just telling her I don't care. I don't care what she's crying about. She will die alone. You keep in other words, the goal here is to preserve patriarchy. The goal here is not to make her fucking feel good. No, bitch, you priced yourself out of the fucking market. You wanted to focus on your career. You wanted to make that type of money. You priced yourself out of the fucking market. The only time where you will get like a different dynamic is if, like, let's say you get the daughter of a man who is wealthy and she just walks into fucking wealth. And quiet as is kept, a lot of those women date down. Michael Bloomberg's daughters dated down. I mean, hell, one of them even took on their name. I mean, you can't compete with that. Your daddy is Michael Bloomberg. Like, how the fuck do you compete with that? Even if you were the awesomest of awesome, Michael Bloomberg, what is his net worth? 60 billion, 80 billion. You can't fuck with that. That's a totally different dynamic, but that's not the place that majority of black women are coming from. Majority of them are coming from, again, this world that we live in with multiple streams of income and social media and putting yourself out there. Because if you notice, not all these women that talk all this shit that get on these platforms, okay, they're not just nobody. How do I say this? They're not just nobody women. They've put themselves out there as personalities and brands to be marketable in order to make the type of money that they're making. And a lot of them, like I said, they're totally disconnected from the average black woman experience. And the average black woman is totally disconnected from their lifestyle. But yet they all think that they're on the same page and they're all in concert with each other. It's the dumbest shit in the fucking world. It's the dumbest shit in the world. But this is what goes on. And I was going to make a video about, because I had an argument with a brother, that, I'm still dealing with young men that are telling me it's not about the money. I'm still dealing with that shit, and I'm like, where the fuck does this shit come from? And I have to, question black women because, I see all this stuff. Like, in other words, let me break this down. We have a community where something like 70% or more of the kids are born out of wedlock, right? So that means the majority of the boys are being raised in these single mother homes because women get custody and all that other shit. And then I come online, and then you got all these women that talk about, their what like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's what's on the inside. You're fat shaming, right? You need to accept me for me and all this other bullshit, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, if a boy is raised in that type of environment, if a woman's saying you need to accept me for me, and you're fat shaming or you're whatever shaming, it's not a stretch for a boy to sit there and think in the same line of thought. I can pretty much guess when a boy is raised by nothing but women, because you can hear it in it, just the ideas that he has, the ideas of trying to speak his value into the world. And it doesn't work like that for boys. Boys have to go out here and earn their value. They don't have intrinsic value. You don't get intrinsic value like a girl. If a woman just so happens to be young and beautiful, she has instant value. At 19, she has instant value. You are nothing. You are nobody until you earn your position, until you generate money and generate an income. But there's been so much coddling and pandering, when it comes to, black women. And I've heard some black women address this, talking, this whole thing where they raise their daughters and they love their boys, but I'm just saying that, I have been observing, some of the comment sections and some of the stuff that men say, these young men, these millennial, men, and even younger than that. And I'm just like, where the fuck is he getting this shit from? You know what I mean? These guys that come through just like they came on Kevin Samuel's show. Oh, see, Kevin, I'm a high value man because I serve the Most High. I got the sweet twinkle of white Jesus in my eye. I'm like, motherfucker, you are not gonna run shit on a bitch's dime. What is going through your mind? You know what I mean? Oh, okay, I'm a man, and I'm like, yeah, but without money, you got some pretty goddamn ineffective manhood. You can't affect the world around you. What don't you get about that? And so you got a lot of men that they have the same view as a lot of the women do, where they try to speak their value into existence. It does not work that way for men. You got to earn your position. Going back to, even Kevin Samuel's, his principles about, what makes a high value man: being useful to others, having a network of people, making X amount of dollars for a certain period of time. That's what makes you a high value man. The burden of being a man is a burden of performance. It's not just, look at me, I'm me, like that dude try to sit up there on Judge Judy. I'm me, no, it doesn't operate like that. And I don't think that a lot of black women they're so, and this is what it pisses me off about black women, just women in general, because they operate on such emotion that they go out here and they just say things because they want something right now, instantaneously. They want some sort of outcome. So they just throw bullshit out into the fucking air, and they don't care how it lands, who it hits, none of that shit. And they got children all around them just soaking it in. And you end up with these boys that soak that shit in. And it's like, look, if your sister believes that bullshit, that's fine for her to believe. But you don't have the luxury to believe that. Okay? Because the standards, the expectations that are going to be placed on you are going to be completely different than your sister. This goes back to one of the primary reasons why you don't see black men sitting up in the church. It's a waste of fucking time. All that praying and wishing and hoping. Hope does not last for men forever. It doesn't work that way, because men are judged by their level of performance and what they do. And if they're not performing, the world has its ways of letting a man know he ain't shit. No matter how much you got the sweet twinkle of Christ in your bosom, doesn't matter. So that's why you don't see men in the church. The men used to go to the church because the church was connected to economic opportunities that were in the community. The same people that worked in the power plant, or the same people that worked in the auto plant, or the same people that worked in the steel mill, or the same people that worked in the insert whatever manufacturing plant that you throw up there, they went to church. and you could develop business connections and other connections and get your son into the plant or whatever via that. But once those economic opportunities dried up, and the freaking the oligarchs, the elites decided that they were going to take those jobs overseas, because they wanted to pay their workers less, they wanted more of a return on their investment, cut wages. The men felt no need to sit up there and go to the church because they weren't getting anything out of it but a bunch of words of encouragement that doesn't suffice. And then you got the CIA dumping drugs in the black community, Iran Contras, Ronald Reagan, Oliver North, and brothers saying, hey, I can flip this and make some money. And then you get into the paid in full and the Rich Porter and Aphasian and all that. You get into all that street shit because they show and prove. This is why I got pissed off with, Dame Dash's. I took the money and I flipped it. Took the money and I flipped it. No, nigga, you were flipping fucking, drugs. That's what you were flipping. Where'd you get the original money to flip, motherfucker? Like, and this is again, everybody wants to be a part of this business of inspiration. I just got it like that because I'm just that type of motherfucker. I get it out the mud. Bullshit. There has to be a financial starting point. There's something that allows a man to be able to put in the work. There's a medium. There's a what do you want to call it? What am I? A vehicle that facilitates him being able to expand his money and take something and do the business transaction and take his percentage or cut or, raise the price in terms of, him being the medium of, not the medium of exchange, but for him, facilitating the transaction. There has to be something like that in the space. If there isn't, then there's nothing to discuss. Okay? Point blank, period. Your manhood is not just based off of the fact that you exist. That's not how it works. You need either A, gainful employment, or you need B, some commodity, that you can take and you can flip for a profit. One of those two things. If you don't got one of those two things, then you're just a broke motherfucker. That's all it is to it. You're just broke and you don't have shit. And the world is brutal when it comes to men and when they don't have shit. But we live in this world that wants to gas women up and, got women out here, that don't produce, manufacture anything, but because, of the whatever marketability and, all that stuff, they're able to go out here, make that type of money and then snub their nose at everybody else. And that's the world that we live in. So Ayala talking about, oh, you need to go and date a buzz. No, she doesn't. She needs to date somebody who's, ahead of her. And if she can't find that, or if those men find whatever, character flaws she has undesirable, then she's going to end up being alone. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. No, I've watched quite a few videos of Eboni K. Williams, and in my opinion, she's intolerable. She's intolerable. I could not imagine having a relationship, with her. She's right up there with Claudia Jordan. Same demeanor, same attitude, and let me emphasize, these are not dark-skinned women. Just smelling themselves. And if you go back and you look at, even Claudia Jordan, or if you look at, Eboni K. Williams, just go back 10 years and look at them. These are attractive women. Even now, they're still attractive women. But I'm saying these are attractive women. So I'm like, but you couldn't find a man? Nah, chick. And it ain't. See, I raise an eyebrow whenever you get women who are attractive and they run into these problems. Because Look, there's a lot of men that are successful that they don't want somebody that has absolutely nothing going on and they're just a pretty face and everything. But to find a woman that has that balance, that isn't super ultra overly ambitious, where she thinks her dick is bigger than your dick, or that she wants the Jaws music, that's not easy to find, especially with women who have this modern boss bay African American culture. Is the like I don't have the idea in my mind of a woman being pregnant and barefoot all the time, and she's just a stay at home a stay at home wife. You know what I mean? But I raise an eyebrow when I see the type of women that are so career focused that they don't even want to go through the pregnancy themselves. They're like, I'll get a surrogate. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, nah, we don't need to have the baby situation. Because in their mind, their whole belief system is that they're adding a man to what they're doing. They're not being added to what the man is doing. And quiet as it's kept, some of these women, they'll sit there, oh, I want a man and he's a millionaire and this, that, and the third. And truth be told, they can't deal with a millionaire because they're upset that he's outshining her. They're upset that they're dancing to his Jaws music. They're upset that they're being added to his program. They want recognition. They want to be in front of the cameras. They want their name to be splashed all over the place and their image to be, immortalized in social media. They want that. And this is something that a lot of women are not honest about, that are in this lane. I'm like, you ain't trying to be added to a man's program. You ain't trying to, I mean, these are the women that put hyphens in their last name type of shit. You know what I mean? They want to, and I understand people say, oh, well, that's because of business, or that's because, they're known. Like if a woman is an author or she has a PhD or some shit like that, I call bullshit on that. These are again, I take major issue with these women that, they want, men to have a sense of pride and ownership, of a woman, and if something were to happen, you need to jump to my rescue or jump to my aid or whatever. But then you don't want to take this man's last name. You see what I'm saying? It goes back to what I used to say about the difference between renters and owners. Owners take pride in the property because they own it. Renters, they don't care if the grass grows too long, or if there's they like I said, the people that live in Section 8. I mean, they're always fucking up the Venetian blinds. They're always fucking them up. I'm like, there's a string on the side, pull it. Nah, niggas gotta stick their finger in the Venetian blinds that are being dried out by the sun until they crack them, and now you got a bunch of fucked up Venetian blinds, and they're not gonna repair them because, as far as they're concerned, shit, I ain't paying for that. It ain't theirs. So when I see black women that want to sit there and they want to talk about, black women aren't protected, and black men need to man up and protect the black woman, but then you don't want to take his last name, bitch, fuck you. I got major issues with that shit. Again, a sense of pride comes from a sense of ownership. And then you get the women, they would get all stupid with it. I'm not your property. All this other. Okay, yeah, you not his fucking property, and he don't need to jump up and put his life in danger to defend or protect you. How about that? You see, like, and that's my whole issue with all of this. All these people that, they want to fuck with the dials, but they think that they can narrowly get everything that benefits them and none of the cons, none of the drawbacks. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Same with men taking on the burden of, taking on, the leadership roles. It's like, okay, you want the leadership role, you got to take on the burden of responsibility. Plain and simple. Black women is like, okay, you want protection and provision, and okay, well, you got to get with the program. He needs to be in full control of where the ship is going if he's going to be ultimately responsible for you and your well-being and the well-being of the children and everything else. Especially to the point that if anything were to go down, you can successfully, fully blame him for, the ship running aground. Because that's what y'all like to do any goddamn way. So And that's another issue I have with black women. The way they'll sit there and present ideas and concepts of equality, but then they don't want to share any of the accountability. They don't want to share any of the blame. They don't want to share any of the responsibility. They don't want to share any of it. But they want men to take on the culpability, the responsibility, right? But have less say and less control. I'm like, that's not going to happen. I mean, this is not rocket science. I don't know how the social contracts between men and women got so goddamn broken, but, again, uh, now that women no longer have to negotiate their survival with men, with men's resources, the dynamic of relationships, is just different now. It's different now. And for some people, they're so far off the rails, with their ideas and their concepts and the shit that they want to do and the shit that they're, the compromise that they're unwilling to make. People just have to recognize that these people are not meant to be in any sort of, relationship. And I don't advocate for, the role reversal relationship, because if you start to have a community that gets to a critical mass of role reverse relationships, you end up with a broken community. For further evidence, I direct you to the conditions of a black community nearest you. This is what happens when you let shit spin out of control. So when you see these young black males running around carjacking and robbing people and all this other stuff, and then again we look at the overall conditions of the community, who's gainfully employed, who's not, who's what resources that they don't have in that environment, whether fathers are present or not, right? All that is connected back to why you end up with black female teen pregnancies and young black boys joining gangs running around the community. All that shit is tied together. And nobody has been able to show me these successful black female controlled matriarchal communities where, there's babies and children. And then by the time that those children grow into teens, it's a neighborhood that you want to live in. Nobody has been able to show me, this sort of environment. Again, I say it again. Y'all can call me sexist all you want. I do not see where society benefits by putting women ahead of men. I don't see it. I don't see it. We have this bad, concept of, you'll see this woman, she's super successful and women, they're inspired by that. But I'm like, that one woman being successful, that's fine. But if you got a whole neighborhood of that, this shit's going to look, it's going to look I already know it's going to look fucked up. It's not going to be any place that you want to live. Women, they have this delusion that, because, a woman is successful, we got everything covered. I'm like, no, you don't. You know what I mean? All the money that you make is predicated on the foundations, that men build, the infrastructure that men build, in large part white men, because that's the system in which we live underneath. If it wasn't for what they put together, you wouldn't be able to, do what you do and all this other stuff. We would be living in some subsistence, type of conditions and shit like that. That's what you would see. But I got to be careful in saying that because white supremacists will try to fucking run with that. But I'm talking about, again, based on the limited opportunities that even African American men have given. Because when we have formed our own communities, white men didn't want competition and they came in there and they burned it down. Sometimes I wish I could just take race out of the conversation and just talk about the gender dynamic. But the point that I'm making is that women don't pave the roads. They don't run the wire. They don't, build the infrastructure. They don't put the air conditioner units in the buildings, and they don't do any of this shit. So when a woman is able to make money, it's because men laid down the foundations, whether it's in her community, outside of her community, or the greater society as a whole. But yet women will sit there and they'll be like, oh, I got a business that I made online and that's because women are awesome. And it's like, bitch, you didn't run the fucking optic wire. You know what I'm saying? Like they missed that part. If there's no optic wire, there's no internet. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't do what the transactions that you're doing. If you want, further, evidence of, of that, I direct you to any third world country where they don't have internet access, and therefore those women don't have those economic opportunities to make money online. You know what I mean? So it just blows my mind where you get these women that think that they're like wholly independent, of men, when it comes to, the overarching, theme of society. Like, it's just dumb. And they just get these inflated egos and they run around. Yes. And the future is female. Like the fuck it is. You let men shut down and say, and have it be like that movie A Day Without Mexicans. Y'all gonna find out real quick just how much men are needed. It's like men need to, go on strike. And at the end of the day, I remember they had some strike in like Scandinavia, like back in the 70s. The women went on strike. And at the end of the day, it's like, even if you are going to play, the gender roles, women are raising the kids, taking care of the family and everything else, and the men are out there producing and whatnot. Men cannot raise a successful family if women are not doing their job. And women cannot do their job if men are not doing their job. I mean, point blank, period. It goes back to the Captain Solo's, classic, statement about, yeah, you know, yep, there'll be a whole bunch of successful, educated black women walking around this office space, click clacking in their heels, bossing the security around and the custodian around and the janitors around and all these people with these less educated jobs, and they'll be bossing them all around, telling them what to do and everything else, right? And they'll be in there making money and being strong and independent, but not until we, the construction workers, get finished with this building. When we get finished with this building, then the women can come in and they can be as strong and independent as they want. When we put this 700-pound air conditioning unit on the roof, then they can come into the building and be strong and independent. When we run this optic wire and these, the recessed lights and the freaking, fluorescent lights and, install the printers and install all the computers and all the sockets for the computers and put the marble and the granite in the bathrooms and put the mirrors up and the proper toilet installation. When we do all that, oh yeah, there'll be a whole bunch of strong, independent women walking around this motherfucker, but not a moment sooner. And for some reason, women forget that. And I don't know what to say about, because there is hierarchies even with men. The construction workers don't make as much money as the architect, right? But the architect can't complete his job unless the construction workers do their job, right? It's just like, everybody kind of needs each other. I don't know why there's so much disrespect, in the place. You're just a lowly construction worker. And I'm like, yeah, let the construction workers go on strike. It's like I used to say that shit about garbage men. He's just a garbage man. Let the garbage men go on strike. Let them go on strike. Yeah. And you going to smell just how, beneath you they are. You going to smell it. But I mean, it's just, and this is why, men, today's men, are very keen on, not wanting to even, participate in those type of jobs, Mike Rout, because the respect is not there. China has the same problem. The respect is not there. Not only the respect not there, a lot of times the compensation is not there. And it just has to get to a point where those jobs are so desperately needed that people are willing to pay, the type of salaries that those jobs are now commanding, because there's so few people, with those skills. And then perhaps the position of those jobs and those careers will be elevated, because now you'll start seeing those guys that work with their hands, having the material wealth to where they can't be disrespected anymore. I don't know if that's going to cause an equalization of employment. I don't know how that's going to work, because the idea is that jobs that require more brain power, they should make more money. That's always been like the sort of idea. But when you get to a critical point where there hasn't been a replacement rate to match the number of retirees that are in those working with their hands jobs. It's like, and then you've disrespected it so much. How do you expect to get young men to fulfill those positions? It's like the black community needs all these positions, and all I hear constantly online is women disrespecting these positions. I'm not saying that you got to date these guys. That's already bad enough. But the fact that there's so much disrespect to the very type of positions that you would need to fix the black community, if it were going to be fixed, is insane to me. I don't understand the disrespect. On top of the fact, when you look at the reality that, majority of black women out here ain't making no money. They don't have any net worth. And the vast majority of them that are even educated are completely bogged down with student loan debt. But yet they got the audacity to be out here and shit on a man that owns a house, and he's been working a blue collar job since he was 19. And he's debt free. But, I can't date him. He ain't go to college. Again, and black people are very susceptible to this shit because black people across the board, male and female, we have a serious inferiority complex about, not being educated or being the descendant of slaves or being barred out of education like we were during the era of Jim Crow, and education is supposed to be, our freedom or whatever. Right. So then we go to these universities, we take out goo gobs of debt, right? We put ourselves in a hole, and then we, run out here and talk about how, we're a catch or we're the bee's knees because we're educated. Right. Meanwhile, you sitting on mountains and mountains of student loan debt. So I don't know what else to say about it. I don't advocate for role reversal. Ebony K. Williams is most likely going to end up being alone. Most dudes ain't out here, even in her age range, are not looking for a 40-year-old woman. The biological clock. Who knows what her fertility is. I think she froze her eggs or something like that. It's like you done waited all that time. All that I'm focused on my career. I'm this and I'm that. Just watch that video clip on The View of, Ebony K. Williams, talking about, Governor DeSantis and, how much time do we have? I'm like, oh my God, bitch, like fucking God complex. And I'm like, good looking woman, good looking woman. All that time just wasted that she could have, had somebody started a family, but that wasn't her priority. Her priority was, yeah, I'm successful. I'm out here looking to add a nigga to what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And then again, this is where women get it fucked up. I'm looking for a nigga to add to what I'm doing who's ahead of me, but is the type that's willing to get with my program. Why would a man who's ahead of you try to add himself to your program? When he's probably got women, if Ebony K. Williams' net worth is $3 million, and let's just say in order for her to feel like she's dating up, a dude has to have a net worth of $4 million. Why wouldn't the dude that making why wouldn't he go out here and get with all these other women that would be much more appreciative and don't have that type of demeanor? Why wouldn't he just go out here and get with any of those women? A black man making $4 million. Oh, nigga, you awesome. Mind you of the fact that if you were making $1 million a year, that's $83,000 a month. I know we're talking net worth. We're not talking somebody making $4 million a year, but I'm saying if they were making $4 million a year, if I just threw that number up there, $83,000 a month times 4. You know what I'm saying? Like per month. So, when you're talking these type of numbers, but anyway, I probably shouldn't have said that because that was her 3 million is what Google says is her net worth. But and that's one of the things that these women don't get. Their money doesn't enhance them in the same way that money enhances a man. I don't know why you can't explain this to these women. They really think that they go out here and do what men do. Like, what are you gonna do? Pull up in your Lambo on Ocean Drive, pop the door, and say, "Hey, nigga, get in." And the nigga's supposed to like see you and be like, "I've been chosen," and get in your Lambo and be in the passenger seat. That's how that shit's supposed to work. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? If I got a net worth of $3 million and I'm riding down Ocean Drive in a Lambo, I'm fucking three bitches that night. It doesn't work that, again, going back to Patrice O'Neal and the Jaws music, but y'all want to act like, men are supposed to be super turned on when they see a woman, that, has a net worth of $3 million. Men are not. And people will say that's because they're intimidated, and they should be. Because there's nothing that they can offer in that situation, and there's nothing that they have no power in that situation. Men are not supposed to thrust themselves into powerless situations. They're not supposed to do that with other groups of men, and they're not supposed to do that with you. I don't know. I don't understand these women that they want to complain about the ways in which black men are weak in relationship to other races of men, but then they're always trying to convince black men to compromise their manhood and get themselves involved in a role reversed or ass backward or compromising situation or relationship with black women. Only to complain about, their the dynamic they have with other races of men. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a woman that is actually supportive of the idea of black men actually getting in a position because she loves the black race and wishes black men were in a, better position so that, she would ultimately benefit. Same thing I said about, these white women that are white women by and large are way more liberal than, they actually lead on. But like I said, white men own businesses. White conservative women are going to vote conservative because it is in the best interest, based on how the Republican Party operates. If you own a business, it is in the best interest of their husband, which translates to it being in her best interest because she is reliant on him. Okay, she wants her husband to get that tax cut because that tax cut may equate to him, going out and being able to buy her, I don't know, a brand new Tahoe or a brand new Escalade. You know what I mean? And then they do that whole, I forget what the damn tax code is. What is that? Tax code 6,000 pound vehicle. What's the tax code? Blah, 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 tax code deduction. What is the tax code called? What is this called? I can't find what it is. What is it? Damn. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Little known, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, Section 179 tax deduction. That's why you see people riding around in those big-ass Suburbans and, Escalades and anything over 6,000 pounds because they write it off as a business expense. They have a business. They say they drive the vehicle 50% of the time for business, and then they can write, what does it say? The 6,000 pound vehicle tax deduction is a rule under the federal tax code that allows people to deduct up to $25,000 of the vehicle's purchase price on their tax return. The vehicle purchased must weigh over 6,000 pounds according to the gross vehicle weight rating GVWR, but no more than 14,000 pounds. So basically what they're trying to do is because, and this is like a backdoor type of shit. They're trying to, make it look like, it's a work truck. It's a work vehicle and it weighs this much, right? And thinking about those like freaking, construction worker trucks with all the damn panels and doors on the side and they got the ladder over the top and shit like that. Yeah. Yeah. An Escalade probably weighs just as much. This is how white men create their laws and loopholes and shit so that they can go off and they can, write shit off, right? Because the government has an incentive for business owners to, flourish in business with the idea or concept that they'd actually go out here and hire other people, creating jobs and economic opportunities for, their or said community. But anyway, why did I bring that point up? There was a reason why I brought that point up. I forget why I brought that point up. I forget. But anyway, this why did I bring that point up? I totally forget. But anyway, I'm pretty much I'm done with this video. You gotta black men that are doing all this grifting. Okay, you don't have any solutions for these women. These women are gonna die alone. They're gonna be with their cats, and that's what it is. And it's sad. It's unfortunate, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But what we're not going to do is we're not going to sit up in here and advocate for role reversal and tell a woman that has a net worth of $3 million that she needs to go and date a man who's making $65,000 a year driving a truck. Fuck out of here. Y'all ain't changing anything with that. You're not changing, the matriarchy with that sort of dynamic. You're actually reinforcing it. And then let me say this, and I think Media Man is the only one. He put up a short clip, but he's the only one that actually, looks like he identified the same problem that I recognize, which is, this framework, because even Eboni K. Williams, this framework that black women are out here, outstripping, kicking black men's ass out here across the board. We're still in this mindset of this framework. And it's just simply not true. I'll let him, go off and, he'll post his videos and crunch the numbers and the statistics and all that other stuff. How many black men make $100,000 versus how many black women make $100,000 and whatever numbers you want to throw up there. I mean, even when it comes to the, black women having businesses, like 95% of black female businesses, last time I checked, they have 0 employees and make them less than $25,000 a year. These are people who register businesses but don't make any money. And this goes back to the point that I made, when the women talk about black women are killing it, we out here, we got businesses and LLCs and all this other shit. And I'm like, and why are your sons out here selling water on the street in Baltimore then? If y'all are killing it all over the place, why aren't you hiring your son? Why isn't your son working for you? You know what I mean? So these narratives don't fit the reality that we see. But yet the black community keeps running with this narrative of black women are awesome, black men suck, black women good, black men bad. Yeah, and this is why, like, black men, when black women want to talk about loyalty and black men interracially dating and all this other crap, that's why we don't have that strong sense of connection to you all. Because you all have been shitting on us forever. You all have been, you think that you're better than us. You think that you're killing it more than us. You know what I mean? And yes, in certain environments, in certain inner city schools and whatnot, the boys are failing. Again, across the board, we see this. You got, even in the white community, white men are not going to college like that. That's going to have a profound effect on the dating market. Even the white community is talking about this. It's not just some unique situation that applies to the black community. Is our situation worse? Absolutely. Because again, look at our starting point and look at white people's starting point in this country. Of course, our situation is going to be worse. But there's just this, these black female supremacists, that just, I don't feel the love. I'm like, y'all got the same viewpoint of us as a white supremacist does. Like, I don't feel any real strong connection to y'all. I don't, but y'all want to sit there and act like, when it comes to, guys that, will have these feelings build up in me like that we're just pulling it out of the void, out of nowhere. Oh, it's just self-hatred. That's what it is. But you can see it in these women's, the rhetoric that they want to spew, this old 1992, Oprah Winfrey fucking talk show type of talking points. that they grew up on. Because if you notice, all the women that are talking all this shit are in and around 40. The ones that are talking or 50, like Claudia Jordan. You know what I mean? Like they keep coming with these 90s talk shows talking points. Because many of us that grew up in the 90s, that's what we saw. And they just regurgitate. It rolled right through the late 90s and the early 2000s. It rolled right through that. And they've kept that belief system. They've held it with them, since that time. That black women are killing it and they're strong, independent, and you go girl and black girl magic and black men are just beneath you. Right. And then not only that, you come to find out these women ain't even attracted to, the type of men that are basically doing the same thing that they're doing. You know what I mean? They want the rough neck. They want street dude. They want, man, the early 2000s was just horrendous, with that shit. Doom, 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 doom. Hot shit. I'm going down, down, baby. Boom, boom. Right? The way that the women were just like, educating women. They was like, they busted wide open. If a nigga had a sweatband and an oversized jersey or a t-shirt and some baggy pants, like that dude on Instagram with the 2005 time traveler. You know what I mean? Like that dude, it was, and a lot of these women, they had babies by those dudes, all that shit. Now they want to come up on Kevin Samuel's platform and, Kevin, I want this type of man, because, I'm not with my baby daddy anymore. That nigga ain't shit. And I've realized that, I know my worth, and it's like, oh my God. And when you get to the other women that were smart enough, not to get pregnant, it's like many of them are so, I'm too good, 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 that they get to the point that, they've priced them, not only priced themselves out of the market, but aged themselves out of the market. And they have no clue. Like they're mad and they have like no clue. It's like, come on, you gotta recognize, like, dudes ain't out here fantasizing about 40-some-year-old women or men. They're not out here fantasizing about that. You're not in your prime anymore. You're midlife. You gotta own that. And with women with the biological clock, I'm like, how do you not get this? You know what I'm saying? So, this is where shit is. And unfortunately, we're just gonna have a lot of women who remain childless. And this is a whole big issue. This is going to be a big issue, in the future of uncoupled people. This is going to be a big issue, because, people with no children, no children to look after them, all that, it's a big issue. Aging population, no children to help support, it's not good. Not pairing up is not good. It's not good for society. It's not good for the community. I don't hear all this bullshit about overpopulation and shit. We've been in population decline for quite some time. And a lot of it is directly connected to, the economic situation, which doesn't really, it's part of the gender war and the gender issue, but it's not, like you can't blame that on either gender. That can be blamed on the oligarchs and the ones that are, using people like pawns and playing chess with people's lives and stuff like that. And then, like I said, with the conservatives, they want to talk about, God and religion and hard work and everything else like that. But then as soon as we get into, you're not paying people, they just want to jump up like Dave Ramsey and say everybody's lazy because, they won't work for peanuts. When previous generations were able to purchase homes, raise kids, raise family, and they were able to, to do things. I don't think anybody's asking for anything, too extravagant and too ridiculous, but, let them tell it, people whose parents were subsidized by the government with, freaking, houses, that we're demanding too much. I was driving past a retirement community, just the other day. And I remember when the retirement community was built, those houses were $250,000. Now they want $400,000 for those same homes, for people to buy into those same homes. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, these are like 3-bedroom homes, you know what I'm saying? And they, usually they're single level. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the homes and I'm like, it's amazing to me how and this is what the type of shit the townships do. And I know I'm pretty much done with the video at this point, but I'm kind of getting off topic. I just want to say this. It's like amazing to me at how, you got all this, oh, people aren't getting married, they're not having families, which ultimately the U.S. government in America as a society is going to pay for. And they got all these retirement communities that they'll build, these like 55 and up neighborhoods. They build these suckers for like $250 for you to be able to get in and move in these things, right? And the townships, they love them because they don't have to expand their school district, right? These are just people who come in and pay taxes, and they love that, right? They eat it up. But at the same time, right, as a society, you're not building homes so that people can actually start families, feel comfortable in starting families, right? And then you got the old people who are on their way out the door, and they've already have a lifetime of achievements and money and opportunity and all that shit, and you're building houses for them, but not the people that are actually like in the prime of where they're supposed to be most productive, raising families, raising the next generation of people that are supposed to take the nation forward. Like, it's so broken to me. It's so ass backwards and broken to me. And ultimately you end up, the society ends up paying for it. So it's like you got these, I call them leap generations. So you get the generation that basically is the hoarder generation, which are the boomers. Then you end up with their kids, right? The Gen Xers and the millennials, right? And then after that, you end up with like this generation that's supposed to build it back up again. But that generation in the middle, they end up suffering the most, right? Because the hoarder generation consumes everything, and then there's nothing left, and then like society like falls off a cliff, and then it has to build its way out of that hole, and for it to like rinse, wash, repeat, and get the same thing over again. It's just nuts. It's nuts. So it's like we got our own black people problems, and then we have the problems that spill over onto us that are caused by the greater white people problems, right? So like we're definitely Negropians in all of this, but it's just insane. I'm like, I sometimes I swear I just look at white supremacy and I'm like, the fuck are y'all doing? This isn't even white supremacy. How are y'all maintaining white supremacy? And again, that's why you see, in my opinion, revolution is right around the corner. It's right around the corner. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I'm telling you. I'm like, you got all these angry ass white men. And again, they're entitled like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? They're not used to setback. They're not used to having, they want what was promised. And man, I'm like, and the boomers, they don't give a fuck. They're like, oh, we out of here. I'm 76 years old. I'm the fuck out of here. Like, they don't give a fuck. They're about to drop dead. And then all the younger generations are just going to be left with the bag and all this fucking retarded ass flux going on. Like, it's just bad times. It's just bad fucking times. That's why you get so many these videos online and people just, they fantasize about the 90s, and they go back to the 90s. 90s were so great, and the movies in the 90s were awesome. 90s and 80s. Why can't we go back to that? Life was so much simpler. There was no social media. Like everybody just wants to go back to that. But now it's man, they have fucked this motherfucker up. These boomers have fucked this motherfucker up. And then now we got AI coming into the space. Look, I don't even use Google anymore. Okay, you go right over there on chatopenai.com, Man, I mean, just anything that you want, any question that you like my mind is expanding. I'm like Neo in the fucking Matrix. Like I'm just like I know kung fu. Like just sitting there fucking with Chat GPT on my phone, on my fucking computer. Like it's insane. There was shit I was trying to do. That okay, like example. Let's say you want to start a business, right? If you got how to start a business, how to start a S corp, LLC, a corporation, whatever. What is it gonna happen? You're gonna go on Google. It's gonna take you to a whole bunch of SEO shit. Pay $3,000 to this person and this online company, and we'll set up the company for you. Da 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 da. You type that shit in the Chat GPT. This shit comes right up. Boop 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 boop. This is what you do. This is the next step. This is the next step. Fill this out. Blah 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 blah. Done. I'm like, check this shit out. You know what I mean? See if a corporation is, go to the state's registry, see if the name of the company is already registered to make sure that your application doesn't get rejected. I mean, I'm like, bro. And I'm saying now apply that to all these other fucking jobs. We're looking at radical change in the next 5 years. You know what I mean? And the thing is like, this shit is changing faster than a lot of people can adapt. There'll be people who can adapt, but there's going to be a lot of people who can't adapt to the rapid change. It's rapid. And that's like, again, you don't have a society, a functioning society, unless you can get it to about 75-80% of this of whatever that society is working for that percentage of people. A society can always tolerate 20%, 15% of people just being fucked up, living in poverty, living in squalor, not having. A society can tolerate that. It can still function. It can use those people as scapegoats, blame them, whatever, right? Talk about them on the news real bad, right? It can tolerate that. But when you got a society where 80% of the people can't make it, you have a failed society. You have a broken society. And it hasn't gotten so bad where, the shit is imploded yet. But I'm like, we're getting there. You're going to start seeing some extremism. You're going to start seeing, some domestic terrorism in my guesstimation. You're going to start seeing that type of shit. I've talked about that. I talked about that with that video game, Patriot. What was it? Tom Clancy Patriots. You're going to start seeing that type of shit. Because when you start snatching people's dreams away and you start snatching away, their ability to have, even just the bare minimum of what they thought shit was going to be, man, please, that's how you get shit like Buffalo. That's how you get the Dylan Roofs and shit, the AME Church. That's how you get the what's the other all this Viking shit, motherfuckers attacking the damn infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure in North Carolina, I think it was, or Virginia, whichever state that was. That's how, I think it was Maryland actually. That's how you get that dumbass shit. They online in forums talking crazy, right? Because the plans that people had before, they're not busy with that. You got to keep people. What did they say? The idle hands are the work of the devil type of shit. But anyway, I just wanted to add my 2 cents on that because to me, all of this is fucking connected. There is a direct correlation between men being unemployed and underemployed and not getting married. And you got these handful of women that, they make their money on social media, online, talking they shit, thinking that they're awesome. And they've been able to make a decent living for themselves. And dating a regular man that's not a celebrity, that's making regular money, it doesn't appeal to them. And, I'm like, okay, but I don't have a solution for you unless you find somebody in that space, which is what you should be looking for, with the understanding that it's only a minority of individuals. You know what I mean? But I mean, we've seen more than our fair share of, these, black women and even white women included that, have, you know, let the biological clock, run out on them because, they had other ambitions. I'm like, you're not a dude. And I'm not going to sit up in here and act like, men, got, I mean, shit, we see what happened with Kevin. I always talk about that, about working out, staying healthy and all that other shit, when you start, entering middle age, because, that's just the reality. You're not 20 anymore. So, um, again, the men that are like, we age like wine, women age like milk. Depends on how well you're taking care of yourself. But women definitely have a smaller biological window than men do. Due to the fact that they only have so many fertile eggs, and the viability of the uterus and all that stuff, and the ovaries, and their fertility, falls off a cliff after, what is it, 29? So, women should be taking much more, serious approach. But, all this, you go girl, boss bay, career oriented woman that they were pushing in the 90s, man, that shit went to so many women's heads, and now they're paying for it. And the thing is a lot of them were warned, man. It was said, it was pointed out, and they were like, that ain't gonna happen to me. That was the attitude. And so, when it comes to a lot of you younger women, I'm telling you, these your aunties that you think are putting you up on game, again, look at their situation, look at their life. Don't let them talk you into some stupid shit. If you really want to start a family, if you really want to be married and start a family, you know what I mean? So all this, I know my worth, I know what I deserve. You again, identify a man that you want to be with, and be what he wants you to be. Stop fucking fighting that shit and resisting that shit and talking some feminist matriarchal bullshit. You will lose. You will lose, especially based off of the fact that men are the ones that propose to women, not the other way around. You need to be what the hell he wants. And I don't mean on no fake chameleon shit either. You need to be what he wants. Pleasant, fit, feminine, cooperative, right? All that shit. You need to be all of that. It is not that fucking difficult. But, a lot of y'all got these retarded ass ideas in your head. And what it culminates to is you being a Vivica A. Fox, Claudia Jordan, Ebony K. Williams, Aisha K. Faines, for Harriet. You know what I mean? Like that's what you end up being. You know what I mean? And these women got to get all this, I got a boyfriend, I got a man that we never see and is obscure and in the background. They want to come online and tell you about all their boyfriends that nobody ever sees. Fuck out of here, man. Like, it's. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.